Welcome back to Soulful Academics, where I teach you guys how to budget, save, and invest. Go to soulfulacademics.com so you can free up debt to build generational wealth. Let's get straight into the video. As we take a look at the Fear and Greed Index, we got a 64 out of 100, with a 64 currently being in greed and 100 being extreme greed, 0 being extreme fear. And we've seen how the market's been the last 6 months to 5 months, where the market started to sell off starting from December, and now we got these dang ads. Okay, now we got the markets back down from fear to greed, and that's currently strong sign of the market being a healthy uptrend. And I continue telling you guys, if we can pull back down like we've seen this week, back to neutral or even into fear, will be a great sign for people who want to rinse and repeat, who already started the rally, and then now people are selling off, and now we can get a little dip in correction, and then we can get back into the rally for new highs. So anytime we can see neutral or pulling back down to 50, or even in the middle of this indicator, it's a great sign for people to get back in, and we can buy the dip. Bitcoin fell about 5%, 6% this week, these last 7 days. Bitcoin fell down to like 104,000, and we pulled up to 106,000 today. But this last few days, this is a huge sell-off for Bitcoin, and it's not really a huge sell-off. It's been staying between the 100,000 to 110,000 range, and that's a good sign for Bitcoin, especially after this huge pump in May. We started down here in April 10th, and we finished to about 100,000 from about 74,000, and that's a huge run-up for Bitcoin. And anytime we see Bitcoin down like these bull flags, it's a great sign, so we can pick up Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency. Ethereum, a nice little bull flag as well. The markets in Ethereum have been staying in this nice little correction, but Ethereum has not really been matching out. Bitcoin fell down as much. We're barely in the correction, and Ethereum already just surpassed its recent high. It went up to 2,784, and it previously closed to about 2,741, and that's a great sign for Ethereum staying strong during being in this short and people selling it off, and it has to make up for this big drop that it had these last 4 months. Okay, I can see Ethereum pushing back to 4,000 easily within the next 3 to 6 months, so it's a great one to continue loading up on Ethereum as we sit at 2,600. It won't stay down here too long, and every time cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin have a correction or they're down, Ethereum stays strong compared to its competitors, and that's a great sign. You want to see a company or cryptocurrency have strong support, and that means that the price is going to be appreciating. MSTR has been down these last 7 days as well. It had a huge run up in May, and I feel like it's just time for the stock to cool down from that huge run up, and it's been choppy these last few weeks, so you got to be cautious of MSTR. See, we can drop down to that low, that $350 to $325 range will be a great price to enter back into this stock, so we can push past $400. So you want this company to fall down. The more it falls down, the better. That's why whenever we see sell-offs like this week, it's a great sign to be patient, and you wait until stock falls down as much as it can, so then you can buy again. Or you can just profit with everybody selling off and shorting the stock. And now I tell people is just to be patient, and you can just wait these few weeks off. We ran up a great month this month. I'm sure a lot of you guys as well grew your accounts as well. So just be patient and let time do its thing, okay? You can sit on some long terms, but as far as you jumping in and out and trading the stock frequently these last few days, is just too choppy. Man, you don't want to lose capital for trading out choppy stocks. You just get it with choppy returns, okay? So that's just how I think about it. As we're in that greed 64 out of 100, we know that you don't want to be too greedy. That's the sign of using these indicators, okay? Whenever it's fear and seeing people sell out, you want to do the opposite. You want to actually be buying and waiting for the markets to get into the extreme fear as long as time for you to keep dollar cost averaging. But as far to the market and greed, using market greed, you don't want to be too greedy yourself, because the market could go back to that neutral state or fear time off one news from Trump and his tariffs, or something happens overseas. Okay, limited supply. You know, any macroeconomic news, we can quickly change status of indicator from fear or greed in the markets. A huge sell-off to bull market. So we can always use how psychology and emotions running into the markets. We got to take advantage of. Coinbase had a nice little correction as well. It was down $5.45 today, about 2%. And we got Coinbase around $248. Just still a great buy for Coinbase as we push up to $400 at the end of this year. And my favorite time whenever stock market is whenever we see sell-offs. So this week was a great week because we seen a sign of a sell-off. And if we can continue next week all the way until the week of interest rates and announcements of the Fed around June 21st and 22nd, and we can wait till then for the market to be real choppy and continue that sign up, I won't be surprised if the market stay in consolidation between that time, just because there's not nothing major going on right now in the markets. You know, Trump just added a lot of volatility to the markets as well, announcing these tariffs. But then the judge want to come in and then they actually want to silence Trump and his tariffs and say he's overreacting with these tariffs and he's doing too much. So they put a pause on these tariffs. So it's a great sign for us right now as investors. Now that the judges and the economy is trying to stabilize with tariffs and interest rates, we just want to pay attention to how the market's reacting for these next 3 weeks. Coinbase is definitely a good buy though. As the Bitcoin reserve gets pushed into macroeconomics, you want to keep an eye on Coinbase. AMD's been my favorite stock this month, and it's actually one I want to continue loading up for the next 6 months as I see it undervalued, still around that $100 to $120 range, which is a great buy for anybody that's thinking about starting investing or knowing where to learn about investing in technology. Advanced Microchips is a graphics design company that provides AI chips and graphics cards for CPUs, for technology devices and hardware. So it's actually one that's going to be demanded for this AI race between CoreWeave, ChatGPT, and AMD, and NVIDIA, Microsoft, all these big tech 500 companies. More as we see software for AI and machine learning expand, we see that AMD is going to be the one that's in that conversation for those applications and those softwares to be ran. I like how AMD has been very, very beat up. And like I tell you guys, my favorite ones to buy is those companies that's been beat up. Okay. If you want to see the past historical data for AMD started its company like 1965. It's one of those technology companies that's been in there really early, and they had a lot of research and a head start compared to a lot of companies with technology. And the government started funding AMD really early. And this is just one that's you can't go too wrong if you have $1 in AMD. Right now, especially if you start back investing in AMD, you can get a good price as the stock is really undervalued. It's down the last 434 days, 49%, and it's down $109. Per share that you own, you can already automatically, once we push back up to $240 to $220, you already get 100% return once that price pulls back there in the next 6 months to a year. And it's just one that you continue loading up on just because it's a nice growth stock one. But once it breaks out of this $120 range to $130 range, we can see some huge momentum towards AMD. All it takes is great earnings reports between the third and the fourth quarter, these next quarters, to finish off the year will really start sparking AMD. But right now, I just want to enjoy the patience of AMD being down between this dollar just so you can keep averaging anytime from now. TQQQ has been one of my go-to as well this month and these last 5 months. It's one that's been very beat up. We got this down to about $44 to $50 and actually pulled down to a low about $38 as well, $35 on April 7th. So we got this one down really heavy. It's one of those ETFs that combine all the technology, Fortune 500 companies, the mega caps, the ones like Tesla, AMD, NVIDIA, and it adds it into an ETF and puts percentage of those companies and how they're moving all in this stock right here for you. So you don't have to buy all those Teslas, AMDs, Nvidias, Microsoft, Googles. You can just buy TQQQ and you're already invested into those companies, just because TQQQ is a mixture of all those Fortune tech companies. And it's actually less riskier for you to buy TQQ compared to those tech companies, because this was made to be not as a risky stock. But if you think about it already, it's already risky as well, because it's involved with tech, and you know how volatile tech is. So that's a thing to consider before buying TQQ. But as us investors, we don't pay too much of risk. When we buy $1 inside a stock, we already expect it to drop at least 50% from the initial investment, and we don't invest into it unless we accepted that. So another good one to buy right now is we got to push back up at least 30% more to $110 this year, and we got it down at $70. And I continue buying dollar cost averaging into this one just because we see how fast tech has rebounded these last month, guys. From $38 to $70 is almost 100% gain return, and that's just showing us, guys, how volatile and the rebound of tech stocks are. Even though there's many other kind of different sectors to invest in the stock market, the fruit of the technology ones is as far as you growing capital and you seeing how people react between the fear and the greed, or in the bear market or bull market, you seeing different market behaviors, and technology is a great place to look at, just because most of the sector of the capital of the stock market is unbelievably inside the stock market and technology sector. Okay, and whenever we see when it calls risk, we always see that tech companies start to fail first, like we seen in the 2008 crisis in the banks. We've seen the prices of those tech stocks. We've seen the prices in the .com bubble. We've seen stock prices in 2022 after COVID. Okay, so all of these different historic events in the company of technology shows us the carrying on risk involved in the tech companies, just because that's where most of the US dollar is involved in this tech companies. This is what's needed for us, the economy, to keep running as efficiently and way they want to innovate with AI. And y'all know with GME, GameStop is one of my go-to contracts for options these next 3 months in the summer. I'm expecting a big breakout with GameStop, and now we see that we're actually finally getting some fundamental news from GameStop. We know that GameStop doesn't really like to disclose what it's doing in its business publicly unless something big is happening. So from right now, I can see GameStop in this nice consolidation to end the rest of the month. But towards June, or even in the middle of June, before earnings reports specifically, I can see some huge volatility with GameStop. It's announced that it put $500 million inside Bitcoin reserve as one of its strategic ways to grow its assets for this company. And we know the CEO, Ryan Cooney, is actually a good business owner for him, as a person that's actually involved with the company to grow its assets and minimize debt and expand its revenues. Okay, and now we're seeing GameStop sitting at this $29 range from after pulling up to about $37 in the pre-market on Wednesday. And that's after the news that had dropped that announcement with its Bitcoin investments. So this is a great sign for GameStop. This is one of those sell the news and buy the rumor, or that's however people like to say that once the news was announced, people start selling off and stocks start dropping. And it's been its second day in a row of the stock dropping. So since we see strong technicals on GameStop, this is giving us signs that we're going to start picking up volatility to break past this $35 to $40 range. We need to put on some contracts and buy some long dollar cost average into GameStop, just because what it's showing us with these higher highs and then higher lows. Every time we get a dip, there's always a new support level, and this is a sign of a healthy uptrend. Okay, and in the past, we're seeing GameStop showing the same technicals as well. After a huge crash that really started off the first media stock rally in 2020, the stock went berserk. Okay, and that really started off GameStop's involvement inside the markets as being one of those publicly good traded companies to start off real low and break out. And now we're seeing the same thing that happened in 2024 is when we got a little taste of what this breakout is going to look like. We got a little sample, but it was actually big for people who were involved in it, like me and other AMC and GameStop mafias on Reddit and retail investors, okay? We caught that move in 2024 in May, so that gave us a sign that, okay, GameStop is back. After these last 4 years of huge sell-offs and the stock dipping, we found an area of support where price fell down at $11.80 last year, and it quickly broke out. That means that stock is at a demanded price for us investors, and we don't want anything lower below $11. Because one thing about retail investors and Wall Street is they won't let GameStop die. No matter how much GameStop is doing revenue-wise or how much money that it's losing per quarter, it doesn't matter because investors are willing to support this company and bring it down from being bankrupt. And that's strong as a company just because you got volume and the amount of support of investors that's going into your company. No matter if your product is selling or there's business revenues expected, at least the profits of being a public traded company and the amount of fans and supporters that it has from GameStop community, that's a great sign for the stock. And now that announced that the Bitcoin investment of $500 million is going to be picking up periodically is a great sign as well for GameStop, just because it creates a new audience of investors. Okay, we got now the crypto enthusiasts, not only the meme stock crowd, we got another side which is cryptocurrency, and we know how loyal crypto and Bitcoin community is too to have. So that's great for GameStop. I do see this company just being way better public traded company after the stock split, and this is where you're gonna start adding some spark into GameStop. For those wanting the same effect as GameStop, that retail meme stock short squeeze type of effect, AMC is one of those as well too. We started picking up momentum behind GameStop. It's just the son of GameStop, so this is just way less capital involved than GameStop. Look at this one being like the $30 GameStop and the $3 AMC, which you can buy way more shares of, and you can get a high percentage return to 50 to 100% return easily just because how low it is. For GameStop to get 100% return, it has to go from 30 to 60. But for AMC to go from 100% and double your return, it will have to go from $3 to $6. So this is just way easier for it to double your return and multiply it. Once the stock starts really taking off, now we've seen after Memorial Day, Lilo and Stitch movie had the most box office numbers for the company, and that's a great sign for movie theater investors. And movie theaters are never going anywhere. We see the demand is always still there, even after the pandemic. The company seems to struggle with debt as well, but due to its investors, like I said, they're not letting this company die and become bankrupt like how it should have been a long time ago, like Bed Bath & Beyond, due to Wall Street and its critics. No matter how much critics that Wall Street has on GameStop and AMC, these companies are not going to go anywhere, and they're going to continue to be profitable and show that they belong to be on the New York Stock Exchange, and traders seem to be backing behind it. And we already know that AMC is going to be one of those companies that really evolutionized due to technology and how people see movies. We have streaming, we have live movies to go see movies in theaters now. We have ways of cloud technology, ways to stream movies online anywhere anytime. And that's a good thing about technology. AMC's already adapted to the cloud AWS movie streaming on with AMC Plus subscription. So even though these companies seem to be struggling technical wise, the company is still showing that the demand of the product is always going to be there, as well as GameStop too. People are always going to have the digital copies, and they're going to always have physical copies. So GameStop is always one that gaming is not going to go anywhere. These two companies are ones that you should keep an eye out in June from any type of volatile breakouts, new highs, and big fundamental news or tweets. This all is going to happen this summer. So June, July, and August are ones to keep an eye on and start really putting on some calls. Nike is a great stock to keep an eye on these next 3 months, specifically June, for you to get your entry level at a low price. Nike is one of those stocks that's been beat up. It's been down 65% in the last 1,308 days, and it's down $116. I think this is one of the longest periods I ever seen a stock beat up for, and during a duration of time. I do see that Nike has a potential to cover and come back strong due to high retail demand during sales in certain seasons and certain quarters. I do see that in the past, Nike seems to be surpassing its earnings, but yet the stock price is not matching up with the price. So all it takes is for Dow Jones to have huge consistent rallies in a month, and this company to continue that revenue of positive earnings beating Wall Street for it to break out. And if we can get it down in this price about $61 to $75, we can get 100% return once Nike reaches its all-time high, $178, as where it was at in 2021. And we know that every 5 years is a great time to buy Nike, just because it changes states of bull and who's buying, who's selling. And now we see it's been 3.5 years now, about 4 years between 2021 and 2025. We're back in that state of bull rally from here on out. Especially when we see sales starting to increase for Nike, is a great time. Like certain seasons like November, summertime, people going back to school, kids going back to school, apparel is needed for sports. I do see that since school started at the end of the summertime, that quarter will be really strong for Nike, and the demand and the profits of revenue is going to increase for Nike, and the stock would do good and start really pushing back towards that $100 stock price. So $60 to $100 is a good 40% return off investment. So we gotta make sure we get into dollar cost average as well, just because this one has opportunity for passive income. Yes, Nike has dividends, and you know how I feel about my dividends, guys. Any money coming in consistently just from owning an asset is always going to be that go-to for you to start building that wealth. Nike is one of those key highlighting flash companies that's showing to buy me right now, so you can get your family generated out the hood. Okay, and every time I like to think about buying assets for passive income, this amount of return for dividends for Nike is about 51%, and that's a very high yield amount of dividend just from owning Nike stock. At $61, you're getting 45 cents a share. So this makes me want to make sure I accumulate assets into Nike and capital and resources, just because I'm winning. Either way, I'm going to win. There's a huge volatility at Nike for the stock price to jump up to $170 in the next 5 years, and there's a huge probability that I'm going to keep consistent earnings every time, as long as Nike's been in the New York Stock Exchange since about 1980. So a long time of showing this consistent amount of data of the profiting. I'm going to win either way from passive income and earnings off the stock moving up in higher highs. So that is a win, and the win is a win. Make sure you guys pay attention to Nike. 45 cents a share. It's a great deal, guys, for a $61 stock price. If you can put in about $1,000 to $100 or even $10,000, $100,000 of wealth in that right there, you will be able to retire at a nice age and live off nice passive income. Another one that's on my list is Tesla. Tesla is one of those stocks that really create that opportunity for investors to take advantage of where the market's at currently, just because the price and direction of the stock moving will be 10 times faster if you did it with Tesla than compared to another stock like Wix or BlackRock or AVGO. Okay, the amount of percentage and return is higher just with Tesla due to its market cap and its volatility of volume. Okay, whenever we look at stocks, guys, you always want to pay attention So the volume, meaning the amount of number of people buying and selling the stock. Or if you go to Walmart, the amount of people who are buying the product or come into the store on a daily. We got to always consider metrics. Volume and metrics is what drives a company or business. So the more transactions, the more opportunity it can create for revenue and profit, right? Okay, so now whenever we look at Tesla, we always want to notice how the volume's always high. A lot of people investing in Tesla. There's a lot of money flowing in and out of Tesla. So if the market's performing poorly, there's a lot of money flowing out of Tesla. If the market is performing real strong and bullish, it's in that greed state indicator with a greed or extreme greed, we're going to see Tesla start to break out with new highs. We're going to see a lot of money flowing in Tesla. So these are ways to analyze these companies, like one of those hedge companies that really match NASDAQ and the top indexes of how the market or the economy is doing. So Tesla is one that you just need to pay attention to so you can grow consistent growth or return of investments of wealth. If you can memorize and study Tesla, you can always make money, passive income, whether you need some extra funds to pay off a debt or credit cards, or whether it's you need to throw a lump sum on your house, or whether it's that you lost a job and you just need to do something while you put in applications and you build a skill to get a certification to increase your career and your chances of networking and being where you want to do in the next 5 years. Okay, no matter what it is, this is a good skill to know how Tesla moves. So understand how I look at Tesla is from the monthly time frame. So last month I took a look at Tesla's candlestick, and we only seen this hammer candlestick indicating that we're going to have new breakout to new highs this month in May. And how I knew that is just because what a hammer candlestick is showing us that price went down to a low of the month in April and ended up closing near the high, and the highest high during the end of that month. And that is called a bullish move. And a bullish move is whenever we see higher highs and higher lows. So whenever we have higher highs and lower lows, there's candlesticks that show us that price projected and went higher for the month. And for that 30-day period, there was a duration of stocks consistently moving up towards the ladder or towards up in price. And that is a great sign for investors that are expecting price or assets to appreciate. So now what we did in May is we capitalized off what the candlestick we seen that closed in April, and we made high probability profit bet that this month Tesla was going to go ahead and do the same thing, but yet it's going to project way higher than it closed last month. And prices were going to close higher than it did last month. And now we see that May is about to end, and that's exactly what Tesla did, with price being at $358. It's down at least in the last 150 days. We still got it down between about 29%, and it's down $142 from its all-time high. So this is a great sign for investors that we got more room to run up with Tesla. Okay, we might even see price breakout towards a new high next month in the next 3 months, so we can push back up towards this all-time in Tesla, or we can see some consolidation period even before interest rates happen. Like I said, guys, it could be a sign of very choppy markets these next few weeks until we get that major news with the Fed. And y'all know what the Fed is. The Fed is the chief of the economy. He's the one that dictates if the markets or the companies or all of these banks will fail or they'll have success. Okay, all it takes is one news from the Fed for the markets to fly. And like I tell my people on Sofa Academics, don't fight the Fed. The Fed is your friend, okay? So let's match off what the Fed is doing. If the Fed is dropping rates, he's trying to get inflation down. If the Fed is keeping rates still and there's still uncertainty and there's terrorism being in discussion, you want to be cautious over how much you're being greedy and buying and tying into the market, just because the amount of uncertainty can determine a huge swing upside, and you can profit with that by just going in dollar cost averaging slowly. The rates need to be dropped in order for the markets to rally, guys. That's what we see in the last 20 years. That's just facts. Whenever rates are dropped, it stimulates the economy, money getting inside the economy, and people being able to borrow at low rates We've seen businesses start to innovate for workers and technologies for expansion. And this lower rates is what stimulates the economy. High rates is what makes people sell off in the stock market, and it crashes the economy and creates inflation, and it stimulates recession. And that's gonna cap it off for today's video. I hope this video really helped you guys whenever it comes to deciding on any investment or research that you're putting into efforts of building a career as an investor. At Soulful Academics, we help you guys become the best version of yourself, whether that's financially, mentally, spiritually. So that's all I want to tell you guys, that make sure you guys are taking things slow and being patient and having faith in the Lord, because He's the one that's going to give you the strength to carry out, to do all these things that we talk about. I always tell you guys, there's no faith without practice. I want to take time to be accountable, and I want to make sure that I'm going in things to whatever I do with integrity, because integrity is always going to get you farther. If you know you're doing something right, and having trust in the Lord is always going to be life for you at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, we don't need to be forcing things that don't need to be made, or things that don't need to be forced in whatever decision we need to. We should just take it easy and trust the process. But at the same time, we need to have faith, and we need to do our practice and our due diligence, okay? We need to do our efforts and whatever we can, so that know that we're sowing good fruits, guys. Whenever I say like sowing good fruits and make sure that we reap what we sow, I mean putting in energy to things that's gonna lift our energy and not take away. So whenever we come tempted to doing things that's gonna drain our energy, we always want to be able to have a higher thinking of, okay, I know when I do this in the past, this makes me feel in a lower vibration, okay? Then compared to if I just take a moment and I just do this instead, or I just chill, or I just rest, I know that my energy won't go from here that I already been building slowly this past few months to down here to 1,000. And now I gotta go wake my way back up to my energy and how I'm feeling, and how, most importantly, is how the heart is doing, and how your heart is making emotional, intelligent decisions, okay? Make sure that you guys are protecting your heart as well as your thoughts and your mind. Because what you have put inside these concepts, whenever you have your heart and your thoughts and your mind making decisions, you have a huge opportunity to connect with God than someone that's not letting things go in the way of the decision of the heart. So your heart, always protect your heart whenever you think about giving away your emotions to something, and how something stimulates how you feel so easily, compared to actually only letting one savior stimulate how your emotions should be feeling. And that should be really the whole gratitude and our dopamine, just because everything else, the devil could come in and linger some type of way that you feel with your emotion, your heart, just because you're not having it protected. And then he can lure you into things that can trap you, slow you down, or have discomfort or disbelief, and lose your faith in the whole process of you building a relationship with God. So always protect your energy, guys. Protect your heart, protect your thoughts. Tell you guys during the next few months, I need you guys locked in. So start practicing, stop scrolling on social media, unless it's something, like I said, that's going to uplift the energy from here and build it up slowly. We don't need to be going from our energy down here to down here. And especially as us being men and women in the world, we came with responsibility. God gave us our life with a price. So I always want to tell you guys to not take anything for granted. Time is limited. And that's why I like to talk about time as well. Whenever we discuss things in Soulful Academics, time is what's the biggest asset at the end of the day, not how much capital or revenue that you have. If you got time, you got family, you got your heart protected relationship with God, then you always gonna bear good fruits. And that's what we do out here at Soulful Academics. We make sure that we're protected as brothers and sisters, so we can continue bearing good fruits around here, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you guys. Stay tuned. We out.